Now, a customs union deal, a single market deal. No deal is better than a bad deal. Well, we thought we'd heard about all the deals possible, but now Open Europe, a think tank specialising in UK-EU relations, has another proposal for us. Their director, Henry Newman, joins us now to discuss the latest idea for life after Brexit. So, hit us. What's the latest deal?
Well, we think as you look at the debate that's happening in Parliament at the moment and in Westminster more generally, there are these two extreme axes. You've got the sort of hardline Remainers on one side and hardline Leavers on the other. And actually there's a pragmatic path in the centre, which I think is where the majority of the population and the majority of businesses are. And that would recognise that on goods, the EU is by far our largest market, and about half of our goods trade is with the EU, and it makes sense for us to align with their rules and regulations, something that would happen even if we were left without a deal. But on services, which is 4/5 of our economy, we're too big and too important a country to be a rule taker, and we need to therefore have the ability to go our own way.
So are you saying that we should, in effect, stay in the single market when it comes to goods and accept all the rules that go with that?
Not literally in the single market. We'd have alignment on goods rules, and we'd be able to participate in the single market on terms roughly similar to that of Switzerland or the Ukraine.
Right, so including continuation of freedom of movement, like Switzerland?
No, that would not involve freedom of movement, is our proposal. Now, obviously,
right.
This is subject to negotiation, but the point is...
Well, clearly, because the EU would say they would reject that.
Well, quite, but I think the way the debate is framed here in the UK is you've got this choice, on the one hand, of a free trade deal like Canada, or the other hand, a sort of close relationship in the single market, essentially, like Norway. And we're saying that if you actually look at the structure of the deals that the EU has already done, Switzerland, the Ukraine, various other association agreements, there are lots of other options in the middle that offer very helpful precedents.
So you're looking for this bespoke deal, something that is specifically tailored for the UK. Why do you think there's been no progress along those sorts of lines till now?
Well, I think part of the problem is that the hung Parliament and the divisions within the Conservative Party as well means that the government is being pulled in two directions simultaneously. And also, I think from the other side, the Commission is not really engaging with any of the detail. And although they love to criticise the UK's red lines, I'm not sure the Commission themselves have a clear plan as to where they want the EU relationship to end up.
Right.
So,
I mean, Henry, at the weekend, you will know and have read that some of the scenarios, possible scenarios, in a document have been looked at by Whitehall in the event of a no deal that did suggest, in the worst-case scenario, that Britain could run out of food and fuel and medicine. What did you make of that?
Well, I thought it was pretty far-fetched, and certainly that was the sort of scenario that could only possibly happen if no action was taken by the government to prepare for such eventualities. But I don't think we're going to leave without a deal. I think, obviously, both sides should prepare for all eventualities, but I think the chances are, and everything that we've seen so far through the negotiation, the breakthrough in December, the breakthrough in March, suggests that they are committed to reaching an agreement. So I'm confident that we will get there, but I think we also need to compromise to a degree on what we're asking for, and that's what our blueprint is designed to do.
Right, well, what do you think of that plan? You voted Remain, you are still a Remainer. Would you still like the UK to be in the single market as well as the customs union?
My view is that the report is a welcome first step, and it acknowledges things that I've been arguing for a long time about areas that will impact in my constituency, so aerospace, chemicals, car manufacturing and so on. It's a recognition, really, that in terms of customs and goods, there needs to be that kind of agreement. But I would argue that services should not be left out of it. There may be an argument for some elements of financial services to be left out, but the insurance industry, legal services and so on face huge non-tariff barriers if we don't adopt an EEA-style agreement. And I would say it's a welcome step that Henry has accepted that an EFTA-style compromise is a good platform to start from, but I would argue an EEA-style compromise.
And what do you say to that, Henry? That it should be more like the European Economic Area and should include services and customs union?
Well, we don't think we should be in a customs union. We think we need to have the ability to control our trade, and that is something that we think was settled during the referendum by the democratic decision in 2016. In terms of services, the single market is obviously not complete in services, but even in those fields where it's most advanced, like financial services, less than 40% of our exports are actually going to the EU. And I think for people like Antoinette, who would argue that we, as a member, were able to shape the rules around the table in Brussels and were able to block rules that wouldn't be favourable, they also need to recognise that if we're not sitting around the table, it's particularly difficult for us to remain bound by those rules if we can't shape them.